In an odd turn of events, BMW is shipping its internal combustion petrol-powered cars using electric trucks. Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans, you're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. This year, around 10% of the vehicles BMW has sold worldwide have been fully electric, around 10%. Considering the fact that China is now at 56% electric, you'd say that means BMW are probably falling behind a little bit. I think it's fair to say. However, BMW does not sell electric trucks, but it has bought some of them and it's using them to ship its EVs, but predominantly internal combustion engine powered cars to customers. Now, this picture was taken in France, actually, in the not too far away from Paris. The automaker's French division is running a program until the end of the first quarter of 2025. This truck here is a Zeekr Logistics zero emissions truck, and apparently it's actually a Volvo. It can do around 270 kilometers or about 168 miles on electric only range. Now, it's not a plug-in hybrid, it's electric only truck. But to be honest, the range did surprise me a little bit, considering Tesla Semi can do around closer to 500 miles. The purely electric truck, though, has been adapted to serve as a car transporter, and it's estimated to cover around 30,000 kilometers between now and March next year. BMW France says its batteries are charged twice a day, usually between trips. So essentially, it does a delivery, goes back to the actual BMW logistics warehouse, then it recharges, and then it heads back out with new vehicles loaded on board. Now, how fast does this vehicle actually charge? Well, I believe it's around 250 kilowatts, so not super fast. Tesla is preparing, and so are other car companies as well, and other utility providers preparing for much faster charging for electric trucks. They're saying that in the future, trucks will have 1.2 megawatt charging. So that's why Tesla's new V4 superchargers are capable of 1.2 megawatts. But at this point in time, a lot of the electric trucks being sold don't have that kind of capability. The Volvo FM is just one of 450 electric trucks that Zeekr Logistics uses for logistics purposes across Europe. Zeekr Logistics and BMW Group France teamed up in 2018 to ship BMW and Mini cars to dealers around France. Around 90,000 vehicles are handled annually at Zeekr Logistics platforms, says BMWblog.com, in Marly-la-Ville, Markelsheim and Le Havre. Now, apparently what they're doing is they're analyzing what the costs are to ship the vehicles using electric trucks instead of diesel-powered trucks. The BMW Group wants to cut CO2 emissions per car in its value chain by 40% by the end of this decade compared to 2019 levels. And keep in mind, one of these reasons is that other car manufacturers are paying Tesla a lot of money. In fact, Tesla this year will make around $2.2 billion from the sale of carbon credits. Most of the sales of those carbon credits are going to rival automakers. They're having to pay Tesla essentially to buy their carbon credits because they're polluting too much. So basically, they're paying companies like Stellantis and others are paying for Tesla to succeed, and obviously that's hurting them. This is one of the ways that they can reduce their carbon footprint and reduce their need for them to buy carbon credits from their rivals. Now, BMW says that they want recycled materials to account for 50% of BMW's vehicles, and they project that EVs will be half of their annual sales by 2030. So 50%, BMW say 50% of their sales in 2030 will be fully electric, not plug-in hybrids, but fully electric. In addition to that, Mini and Rolls-Royce will stop selling cars with combustion engines, period. So by 2030, Mini and Rolls-Royce will be EV only. BMW actually uses electric trucks in many locations around Europe to deliver their mostly internal combustion engine powered vehicles. Thanks for watching. Finally, the Volvo EX30 is coming to the United States. I mean, technically this is a Chinese car, though it is manufactured in the US. You can buy them also in Europe, in Australia. This is basically a global electric car, and they're pretty good. I've driven the Zeekr version of this, the Zeekr X. It's really good. Here are the prices. Here are the details. It's basically what you need to know if you're deciding on whether or not you should buy one of these Volvo EX30s. Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans, you're watching the Electric Viking. It's great to have you with us. Now, if you're considering a Volvo EX30 in Australia, I honestly think I've said this many times, I don't understand why you would follow through with that purchase, because the Zeekr X is cheaper. It's pretty much the same car, but it's a slightly bigger version of the same car. It's more luxurious and it's cheaper. What else do you need to know? It's got more range as well. But in the United States, you guys don't get Zeekr EVs, unfortunately. So you don't have a whole lot of choice. What is the price? Well, it's not cheap, put it that way. The Volvo EX30 will start at a price of $44,900. Now, you do have to pay a destination fee similar to what Tesla has. That is $1,200 on top of the price. So you're looking at $46,200, including the destination fee. However, it's better value than you think. In fact, it's actually really good value. Now, why? Well, first of all, that's the dual motor performance version. So for the performance version of this car, it's actually really good value. A Volvo spokesperson said that the EX30 is being built at parent company Geely Group's factory in China. So somehow they're selling them in the United States, for including the 102% tariff, for $45,000. Seems insane. But this is very interesting, isn't it? Because today, I did a live video today. If you want to check it out, jump on the channel. You can click on the live videos and you'll see it. And someone asked me, will the Chinese sell cars in America anyway, even just pay the tariffs? And it's an interesting question because, as you can see, I mean, Geely and Volvo have already begun to do that. So the reason this car was delayed earlier in America was because the deliveries had to come from China, apparently. Now, for those who pre-ordered the cars, deliveries will begin before the end of this year, said Volvo. So if you've ordered one of these cars, you'll get it really, really soon, within the next month or two. What are you getting? The dual motor all-wheel drive EX30 actually comes in 3 options, not 2, 3 options. And there is the standard trim, I believe, the plus trim, and the ultra version. Now, you might be curious and thinking to yourself, hang on a minute, I thought there was a cheaper Volvo EX30 than this. And you're right, there actually is. The cheaper version is $34,950. Obviously, none of these vehicles qualify for EV incentives, but they're still a good price. $34,950, that's the rear-wheel drive single motor version, which just seems like, honestly, a really good deal. Production of these vehicles will be moved to the factory in Belgium. And when it does, you guys in the US will be getting the Belgian-made versions of the EX30. That's going to happen in the third quarter of 2025. Here's what Automotive News said. It remains to be seen if the US will receive additional Chinese-made EX30s beyond the initial shipment. If there is a way that we can get a few more cars through, we may take that, said Jim Nichols, head of Product and Technology Consumer at Volvo Car USA. We want to see what response is going to be with our reservation holders. So basically Volvo is saying, if people take these cars and they like them, we'll get more. And we'll get them from Belgium. They won't qualify for EV incentives, but obviously it'll be a bit cheaper for them for Volvo to get those cars because they won't have to pay the 102.5% tariffs. Now, what is the range? What is the horsepower? Well, good you asked. Well, you probably didn't, but anyhow. Standard battery pack size, it's the same battery in the Zeekr X. It's a 69 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery, NMC chemistry, and it produces 422 horsepower. That's 315 kilowatt. That's, a lot of power. Torque, 542 newton meters. So it's very fast. I've driven the Zeekr X version of the all-wheel drive version. I was a little scared, actually. It was that fast. I drove it at a racetrack and it was exceptionally quick. 3.4 seconds, 0 to 60 miles an hour. That's 0 to 96. So about 3.6 seconds, 0 to 100. EPA range is 253 miles. That's 407 kilometers. And it can charge from 10 to 80% in 26 minutes. With 153 kilowatt DC fast charging. So not particularly fast charging. It's okay. But as you can see, it's got quite a lot of power. Range though. Range obviously isn't as good. The rear-wheel drive version of this vehicle has much more range. On the WLTP cycle, the rear-wheel drive Zeekr X has 540 kilometers of range. So that's well over 300 miles of range. I think it's going to get around 300 miles of range for the rear-wheel drive version of this car on the EPA cycle in the United States. So that's my estimate for the rear-wheel drive version. But like I said, the all-wheel drive is 253 miles or 407 kilometers. The single motor has a rear-mounted motor developing 268 horsepower. That's 200 kilowatt. and 343 newton meters of torque, which is 253 pound-feet. That means it'll do 0 to 100 or 0 to 60 miles an hour in 5.1 seconds. So it's got more range, like I said, so that's the big benefit there. Charging speed is the same. So they're really the two models. Now, for those two models, you've got obviously all-wheel drive and the rear-wheel drive, but then you've got some options. You can get the premium pack, you can get the luxury pack, so you can pay extra if you want extra features. They come equipped standard pretty well. There's a pretty good level of standard specification in these cars. I really like the Volvo EX30, and I hope that it finds some homes in the United States. I'm not referring to the Chinese version. I mean, to be honest, I think it's very clear that the future of the Volvo EX30 will have to be based around the Belgian-made version because it won't attract that 102.5% tax. But keep in mind, there is a loophole. There's a loophole here that Volvo can get through that people don't know about. Most people don't anyway, unless you watch all my videos. And that is that you can do a like for like. Now, Trump created this idea back in 2018, I think it was. If you sell one EV made in America or one car made in America that's made in America, if you can sell that in China, you can do a swap. So then that company can take back one car made in China. So General Motors does this. General Motors makes some of the cars that it sells in China, it makes them in America. And so then it can swap. It can send some of its Chinese cars, made cars back and sell those in America and not pay any taxes. That loophole still exists as far as I know. Volvo may actually do that to get around this situation because it would be cheaper to ship cars potentially from the US and sell them in China than to pay 102.5% tariff. Thanks for watching.